My name is Shelly Jyoti, and I'm a visual and a textile artist. My work focuses on building moral and peaceful societies. My practice explores Gandhi's transformative ideas through Ajrakh block printing technique. And two is I use Ajrakh textile traditions, which I'll explain. And I create my artwork on khadi fabric. So Gandhi's transformative ideas through Ajrakh block printing technique and the legacy of India's fabric, khadi. At the core of my practice is the concept of self. Self is an idea of swa. We all know swa from our Sanskrit etymology, swadharma, sarvodaya, swadeshi, swaraj, swavalambhan. When I say swadharma, I mean duty to society. And when I say sarvodaya, it is welfare to all and empowering other people. When I talk about swadeshi, I mean local self-sufficiency. These are the meanings of these words which begin with swa. Swaraj as personal and collective autonomy. Swavalambhan as self-reliance. I frame my artworks through these 5 key principles, which I call them 5S in my framework. My aim is to inspire responsibility, empower individuals, and provide ethical living for better communities. But how did I reach to this 5S? I'm sure there has been a journey to it. And let me give you, like yesterday somebody asked me this question, and I'm going to give you that answer. How did I reach to 5S? In today's fast-paced world, capitalism and materialism is in the pursuit of wealth and power are eroding human values and ethical living with the new generation. This growing concern was becoming the foundation of my artistic journey. 26/11 took place when my husband was in the Taj Hotel that night. That left an indelible mark on me because we couldn't reach his number. For almost 24 hours, we were trying to reach. And those were agonizing moments of uncertainty until I heard his voice. Until then, the whole family was numbed. Those events profoundly shaped my understanding of societal fragility, highlighting the urgent need of citizen awakening for community building and in the role of fostering community harmony and peace. One felt that we cannot leave everything to the politics or the politicians or the bureaucrats. As citizens, we have a duty towards our country. The role of citizen awakening towards one's country was paramount important to me. How come people from outside country walk into the sea route and take the country for ransom? I couldn't fathom that. So the resolve in my head was citizens, besides the politicians and the bureaucrats, what they do, a citizen should also be aware and be participative in the country. All the above drew me to understand the experiments of 5S. The Swadharma towards my country, Sarvodaya to empower other people, Swadeshi as in my helping the local resource people, and so on. To reimagine these transformative ideas to narrate my stories visually and connecting past, the history, with the present. So, as I mentioned, Ajrakh textile, now that is the background to my artwork. But I create my artwork using a natural dye block printing technique, and that is called Ajrakh. And what is Ajrakh? Ajrakh, if you translate into Persian language, means blue. And my whole trajectory of my artistic trajectory began with Indigo, the blue. And this particular tradition is, they say, Indus Valley civilization was using it, and also it is 4,500 years old. These craftsmen migrated from Gujarat and Rajasthan in 1600 CE from Sindh and Balochistan. So this is the craft which has migrated from there. I work with the 10th generation of the craftsmen. That I can explain to you later. It is also called Aaj ke din rakh, means You do a little bit of printing, do a little bit of dyeing, and then put it in the sun. Then come back again on the table, and then it needs that kind of patience to create the designs or the story that I create. This is fascinating for you because these are the fragments which you see of Ajrakh-like textiles belonging to 11th and till the 14th century, which were recently found at Fustat. It's an ancient city of Cairo. These pieces tell us that Ajrakh was traded across the southeast countries through the oceanic route. It is not just an Indian tradition, but a part of transnational legacy. Ajrakh isn't just a craft. It isn't just a craft. It's a narrative of survival, migration, and community. These are the people who moved from Sindh and Balochistan, made their house home, created their own business, and they are living and creating business in their craft. So my narratives are also embedded. Now the block printing, and then I work on khadi. I choose to use hand-spun, hand-woven khadi, which reminds me of the scars of our country, hard-won freedom, and ongoing narratives of displacement through Ajrakh printing and dyeing and the needlework. Textiles themselves serve as storytellers. But I would like to request many of you, and I see a few wearing the block prints or anything to do with the hand-woven fabric. Whenever you wear anything which is related to handloom or handicraft, you must remember the stories behind they carry. Remember the history it represents. Remember who made them, the hands that they made. So it is a whole history of the craft when you wear something. Now let's begin with a story. I talk about in 2008, I was on a project called Indigo Narratives, and this is the story related to it. In 1970, Gandhi visited Champaran, Bihar, where indigo farmers were forced to cultivate the dye under the oppressive colonial regime. Indigo, once celebrated the blue gold, had become the symbol of exploitation. Gandhi turned this struggle into the movement, inspiring farmers to reclaim their land and dignity. The Champaran movement of Gandhi, he fought for the farmers of Eastern India. The farmers of Eastern India weren't allowed to grow cash crops, and there were taxation and many things which were, they lived under the life of drudgery and oppression. So Gandhi just came and he said, you need to stop doing that. He empowered them that we will fight for them, and he made them learn what is to live a life of dignity. Do you know, when I talk about indigo, when I say indigo, I mean indigo is a plant that gives you the color, and the color is the dye that we wear. It is that color which connects us through centuries from Indus Valley civilization to the modern day fashions where you all are wearing the blue jeans. It connects us, the color indigo connects us through the geographies, from the farmers of Eastern India and to the global textile industry. That is what indigo meant, and the kind of exploitation which took place, not only in India, in the Eastern India, but across the country. So indigo as a color seduced the world. In 2003, in 2008, I was working only about the indigo farmers of Eastern India. But in 2023, I was asked to reopen that show, and I expanded that body of work talking about indigo across the globe. And then I talked about how the indentured labor from the Eastern India were traveled to the Caribbean islands. So our farmers actually migrated to those places. How they must have lived there. How they must have lived there in those difficult situations. And then in America, there's a place, South Carolina. In South Carolina, there are the farmers from Africa, the slaves, would be taken to the colonies there, and the indigo was grown. Why I'm giving you these different places was indigo at that time under the British regime became a commodity for trade and migration. Migration not only for even the humans were being migrated to grow, who understood the the traditional wisdom of growing, cultivating, making, and then selling. I wanted to show you this slide. And this slide, this installation that you see, is on a title Yarn Spring. And Yarn Spring is a site-specific installation made out of yarns, hundreds and bunches of yarn. And this is coming out of a show, Salt the Great March. In Salt the Great March, I took a Dandi march on road from Ahmedabad to Dandi. And there I met many veteran fighters and I could pick up many of these threads. And this is the installation which came out of it. The structure that you see is an idea of representation of 70% of India population that live in villages. The people who live in villages are farmers, but their part-time work is spinning and weaving. So in the villages, people are spinner, weavers, handicraft makers, and of course the farmers. So we are the 30% urban civilization people. And how are we connected to them? So in this installation that I created for people, so this was inspired by Gandhi's quote, where he said, instead of giving instead of giving 5 paisa to the spinner and weavers, give them 5 annas. So 5, trying to give them bigger denominator, and that would mean Swaraj to them. And this year addressed to the urban viewer, and hence this installation was for me to talk to people and talk to my viewers that this is the way you can connect. And this is an idea of imagined communities. So now I talked about Swadeshi, that let's buy local, let's support local, let's, and the question that I left to people, do we support our handicraft? And if so, how do we show it to people? Let's show it buying 5 meters of fabric. And then my next show was on an idea of Swaraj. Swaraj meant an idea of individual, self-duty, self-rule, and self-determination. When Gandhi talked about Swaraj in his book, In Swaraj, he was talking about self-governance because he was talking about politics. Today, I'm talking about all these ideas in relevance to today. So I was trying to say, and I was trying to bring to people that Swaraj meant an idea of individual, self-duty, self-rule, and self-determination. When Gandhi talked about Swaraj in his book, In Swaraj, he was talking about self-governance because he was talking about politics. Today, I'm talking about all these ideas in relevance to today. So I was trying to say, and I was trying to bring to people that Swaraj, when people, like-minded people who understand the idea of my country, supporting spinner and weaver, and moving together in the community to bring peace and harmony. This is where I had reached till now. And to express those community who could come, bring together and move ahead, fishes became my metaphor. And just like when millions and millions of fishes school together in water, look at the oceanic current they bring. You see, there's so much turbulence underwater. So that turbulence was inspirational for me. And I thought if when millions of people come together with an understanding of my responsibility towards my country, my duty towards my country, it is very personal, but one can think about it. And then we can bring change in the society. The idea was to create 80 feet long, almost like 8 floors of a building, a mural where I wanted people to just walk into the gallery and see Ajrakh fishes swarming, because I was trying to build an idea of community. Next. So my recent works, which I just mentioned in 2023, when I expanded my body of work and I wanted to talk about indigo as a colonial commodity. So that it's the long history from several perspectives. It talked about slavery, indentured labor, migration, colonization, and of course, India's colonial history, which was indigo. Working with indigo dye on khadi, and with these ancient resist printing technique, I draw attention to the complicated and intertwined human history. Here I'm talking about indigo trade influence, where it was a global impact. You see the red color in this artwork is an idea of stain on the human cost that I was trying to bring in. And this is an urbanization of the indigo dye. The whole world, the whole globe was going crazy about buying indigo in the 19th and 20th century. And there was a very famous quote which said, "Not a chest of indigo reached England without the stains of human blood." This is history, but we need to learn from the history. The lesson to be learned is to acknowledge human dignity. Next. And this is a metaphor, the fishes who flow by the current. And this is my very recent work, which I'm going to close my presentation with. But this particular work has yet to be shown, but I'm in the process of making it. I'm talking about now indigo indentured labor who were through the ships, were migrating from one city to another. And the title of this artwork is Faceless Journeys. It's a 20 feet long work, and it reflects how migration shapes identities, communities, and cultural legacies, guiding the transformative journey. And this is the work in a larger format. And I'm going to conclude by saying, standing in that dye vat many years ago. You know what is a vat? Where the bushes of indigo plant is put in and mushed and what word to use? Where the color has to stay there for a longer period of time for it to turn blue. So standing in that indigo dye vat years ago, I didn't just see blue, I saw history, I saw resilience, and I saw the potential of transformation. Gandhi's experiments, the Ajrakh traditions, and the indigo legacy have taught me one thing: change begins with the smallest acts. Spinning a wheel, carving a block, dipping a fabric, and perhaps buying 5 meters of khadi once a year. Thank you so much for joining me on my journey.